Do you have Portugal on your list of places to visit? If so, keep listening as my mom and I share our recent trip to Lisbon and the Azores Islands. Welcome to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. We are three moms who've discovered how to leverage credit card welcome offers to get hundreds of thousands of dollars of travel expenses for nearly free. We've used credit card points and miles to take vacations to places like Hawaii, Paris, Greece, Maldives, Japan, and so much more. And the best part? We each still have 800 plus credit scores. Imagine being able to take the vacation of your dreams for nearly free. It's totally possible, and we're here to show you how. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Pam, Alex's mom.
And I'm Jess. Let's talk points. Today, Alex and Pam are talking all about their recent trip to Portugal. They visited both Lisbon and the Azores with Pam's three other daughters. Spoiler, I am not actually one of Pam's daughters, even though a lot of people think that I am, and sometimes I wish I was. But Pam, Alex, and then Pam's other three daughters, so 5 of them total, just got back from Portugal. I have never been to Portugal. It is on my very long list of places that I would like to go. So I'm really excited to hear about your thoughts, where you stayed, what you did. But first, let's get into how you got there. So Pam, why don't you kick us off with the flights you took to get to Portugal?
Well, before I get started with that, I want to say that I have 4 daughters. I have 5 children. My son is the oldest. He did something with his dad. He doesn't get to go on the mom-daughter trips. And we try every single year to do a mom-daughter trip. So I feel kind of bad for him. But there is my daughter, Casey, is the oldest, and then my daughter, Kelly. Then my daughter, Lindsay, lives in London, and then Alex is a baby. And so we try to go somewhere. We've been to Croatia. We've been to Hawaii. We went to Orlando. That was our funny one that we always joke about. So we try to do these different trips all the time.
You guys did Scotland last year. I couldn't go because we had too many things going on at home, but Scotland was the last one.
I know someone who would have filled in for you, Alex, to Scotland.
Yeah, we should have asked. So the really good thing is that all of my daughters have got into points and miles. And that makes it really, really nice because it's not like mom has to foot the bill or we have to loan them, points and miles. They all have them, and that makes it really easy. It also makes it really nice if we are staying in a hotel, we can, split that. And so it just has worked out really well. So I had been to Lisbon before and really liked it. And everyone started talking about going to Portugal. The funny thing is, everybody actually was talking about going to Porto a lot. And we never made it to Porto because one of my daughters, Kelly, is also going to Portugal with friends in about a month. She's returning to Portugal. And that was part of her itinerary there. So even though that was one of the main places we were going, that isn't where we went. We ended up going to Lisbon. We had 3 nights there, and then we were trying to decide whether to go to the Azores Islands or to the Algarves, and decided to go to the Azores Islands, which is called the Hawaii of Europe, and who doesn't want to go someplace that's called that? So I originally started looking for flights for all of us, and I found some business class flights, Boston to Portugal on TAP Air Portugal using Avianca miles, life miles. And so I thought, oh, this is great. And it said it had 5 seats. We only needed 4 because my daughter in London was flying from there and meeting it. So I booked mine right away and told everybody, well, hurry up, transfer your points, get in there and book. Once I had booked, those other 4 disappeared completely. And I even called TAP to say, hey, this is what happened. What's going on? They go, I can't see any others. And so it's something that can happen sometimes. This is kind of rare. This is the only time in all of my travel that this has happened. It's called phantom booking or ghost booking. And it may show that there's these flights available, but when you go to book them, they're not really there. And even the customer service people can't see them. So really frustrating if we had all transferred all of our points and had them stuck in there. I ended up, mine are in there, but I do use Avianca, so it will be okay. So had to start over from square one. So it took a little while for me to find flights. And finally, I found flights from Boston to London on a Virgin Atlantic flight that we booked through Air France. And I've done this before and I liked it. And so I was happy to do that again. One of the nice things is that all of the banks transfer to Air France. And so no matter if we all didn't have the exact same currencies, everybody had some sort of currency that they could transfer over to Air France to make this work. We paid only 57K miles for business class and about $200 in fees.
So there was one thing maybe you were about to say this, so sorry if you were, but there was a transfer bonus going on at the time. So we transferred from our favorite bank to Air France, and the Air France price was 71,000, I think it was 71,000 miles. We paid 57. So that was a really, really good deal. And the other nice thing about booking that Virgin Atlantic flight through Air France is our taxes and fees were $200 each. If we had booked that flight through Virgin Atlantic, our taxes and fees would have been about $1,000 per person. So huge, huge savings booking that flight via Air France instead of Virgin Atlantic.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, and as we'll probably talk about that, it's just a really nice flight. So one of my daughters, Kelly, who lives in Colorado Springs, had never been to Boston. And I know the rest of us had been to Boston. She really wanted to explore Boston. So I was happy to go there the night before and stay in a hotel and explore the city. I've said before, I'm a little more risk adverse. And I found that, the flights just go a lot better for me if I get there the day before, if when I come back into the United States, if I stay on an eastern city, if that's where I'm flying into, it just helps with my jet lag a ton. So we did stay at the Hyatt Regency Boston. It was a really good location. We were able to walk everywhere. I wouldn't say it's the fanciest Hyatt Regency I've ever stayed at, but it was nice and the location was really good. We had amazing food there. We went to an Italian place. I will write a report about this trip in the future because I can't remember what the Italian place we ate at is right now, but it was amazing. I had the best halibut on a sweet corn puree and polenta. It was seriously the best meal I've had in a long time. So good.
Well, when we were in Portugal, they would ask like, "Oh, what's been your favorite meal of the trip?" And my mom was like, "Oh, that halibut in Boston." I'm like, "That doesn't count. We're talking about Portugal now." She was talking about that halibut the whole time. So definitely you do need to figure out that name, and maybe you can figure out it before and I can add it to the show notes later on.
That sounds good because you need to go there. The other thing we did is we went, and I'll give you this later too. We went after a Viator tour of the history of historical Boston, which was amazing. We went to a place that they suggested for pizza. It had a line out the door, but it went really quick and it was amazing pizza. So all in all, I had really good food. But that's one of the things I really love about Points and Miles. If you're positioning, you can position to a city, you can stay overnight, you don't have to worry about missing your flight, and you can see another city. And so that is something I really enjoy. And so that worked out really good. So our flight in Virgin Atlantic business class, I mean, I just think that it's a great flight. I know you did it recently, Jess. It's kind of, oh, you didn't, Jess?
She's never done it.
Oh, you need to. That's right. You did Air France. Well, Virgin Atlantic, put it on your list. It is also great service. We flew on the A330-900 Neo. I loved it. It has this purple pinkish lighting. It's really strange, It has a door.
But strange in a good way, right, Mom?
Strange in a good way, except for on the pictures. The pictures I take and I look at them, I go, that looks so weird, but it doesn't seem so weird when you're there. It has a door that you can close. They come by and ask you if you would like a sleeping suit, which are pajamas. And these were actually pretty good pajamas. Really great service. I'd say the only complaint I have about this flight is from Boston to London. It's only about 6 hours. That's just not enough time for me to eat dinner, watch a show, and get any sleep.
We all said no to breakfast so we could sleep longer. And it looked really good. They had these pancakes, I think, with strawberries and a chantilly cream. And I was like, ooh, I really would have wanted these pancakes, but I need to sleep. I'll eat later.
Hey, I slept so long I didn't even see what they had. So I didn't even know what I was missing. But I kind of wish I'd missed dinner and had just gone to, right to sleep. Sometimes I do that. So yeah, that's my only complaint is that sometimes you're just really tired. So we arrived in London and we went to the Plaza Premium Lounge for a couple of hours thanks to having the Venture X card. Now I will say my daughter, Lindsay wasn't there yet. Somebody took pictures of us and we were all was it you, Alex?
It was me.
Alex, and you look like you're sucking your thumb in the video.
Oh, we were passed out. That's why
I couldn't not, dude. I was the only one awake. And I was like, this is too funny. We just landed here and they are passed out cold in this lounge. The plug for lounges, you would not have been able to sleep like that if we were in the busy terminal.
No. And we got a little bit of food and then we passed out. So obviously I need a longer business class flight or I need to not eat on my flight. So,
one thing I wanted to say really quickly that's unique to that Virgin Atlantic flight is when you're flying into London, they call it the Revivals Lounge, which I think is the cutest name. So you're getting revived, but it's also the Arrivals Lounge. So when you arrive on a business class flight with Virgin Atlantic, you can go to the Revivals Lounge. They have food, they have showers, really nice. We didn't go because we had to connect and we would have had to go through passport control and all of that. And it just didn't make sense for us. But if that was our final destination and we wanted to revive before we headed off to our adventures in the city, we could have done that. So kind of cool if you're doing that, keep that in mind that that's an option.
So we did kind of what I always call reverse positioning. We flew into London. Final goal was to get to Portugal, and we then took a separate Air Portugal flight to Lisbon. Several people used their Venture X credits for this. I'd already used mine, so I just paid cash. It wasn't, a horrible.
Yeah, I used mine, and it was I don't even think I used half of my credit on this flight. It was I think it was under $150 flight.
Yeah, and and the flight was fine. Took a few hours and then we got into Lisbon. And from Lisbon, we took an Uber to our hotel. The Uber should have been about a 20, 30-minute ride, but we got stuck in some heavy traffic for some reason. But when we came back, we realized that we were really close to it. And so that's how we got there. And Alex, why don't you tell them about where we stayed while we were there?
Yeah, so we stayed at the Hyatt Regency Lisbon. This is a Category 4 hotel, which is awesome because you can use your Hyatt free night certificates there. Pricing is going to range between 12 to 18,000 points a night. We actually booked 2 rooms, so we had 3 in one room, 2 in the other. And then my mom and I both used Suite Upgrade Awards. So our rooms had a pull-out, it was really nice. It was apartment style. So there was a little kitchen, there was a washer and dryer. There was a pull-out sofa bed, a really nice big balcony, and then a nice bathroom, and then a king bed. The website says queen. It was the deluxe queen suite is what we had. And it is not a queen. It is definitely a king-size bed. And it was really, really nice. It felt very new. The hotel's about 2 years old. Really cute area. It's right across from the water and they have their big bridge. It's it looks exactly like the Golden Gate Bridge because they have the same architect, but really great views of the bridge and the water. It's so, so cute. We all loved staying here and would highly recommend it. I would definitely stay there again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would too. Now, it's not actually located in Lisbon. It's located in Belém, which is just kind of a suburb of Lisbon. It's super, super close to Lisbon, but it was super easy to get Ubers and head into Lisbon. And we did that a lot. But it was nice to be able to walk around the area of Belém too, and to walk on. One day we took a walk near the ocean. We walked over to the most famous store that sells pastel de natas and got those. It was really a good location. Had globalist breakfast. It was really good. The only thing that I missed was they didn't have a made to order egg station.
Mom, let me tell you this. I forgot to tell you this. I was sharing a room with my sister Kelly, and then my mom, Casey, and Lindsay were in a room together. And I told Kelly this when I got back up to the room. So the last day I was sitting there eating breakfast. I woke up late. My mom and the other girls had already gone to eat. Kelly was at the gym. So it was just me eating breakfast alone. And there was a couple sitting next to me, and I had accidentally grabbed what's that water? The kind that's really gross. Not still water,
Oh,
sparkling
yeah,
water.
sparkling. Yeah.
I had accidentally grabbed sparkling water, and so had they. And so I went and grabbed still water, and then I could hear them being like, "Oh, this." I grabbed the wrong water, and I said, "Oh, do you guys want some of mine?" Because they give you a big jug. I was like, "I don't need this. You guys can have mine." So we got talking, and he was like, "When is my omelet gonna get here?" And I said, "Omelet?" He said, "Yeah, you can do made to order eggs." And I said, "Are you
What?
kidding me?" I was like, "Me and my sisters and mom were like, the only thing we're missing with this breakfast is made to order eggs." He's like, "Oh yeah, my first day they kind of walked me through and told me what was available for breakfast." And I said, "Well, that would have been nice. We didn't know that." I mean, they had like scrambled eggs and fried eggs like sitting there on a platter you could have, but I would have loved an omelet. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, we just didn't know, but they did have that, and they also had, like, made to order oatmeal. So,
Well, hey,
our bad, but
maybe it's a good thing to ask in case they
yeah.
don't give you the information. I do know that the first night we were really tired, and so we decided, let's just eat dinner here at the hotel. I was not expecting much. That was good, wasn't it?
It
That
was
was such a
so
good
good.
dinner.
So, the restaurant there is called Vice Versa, and it's the same place where you eat breakfast as well. Super, super cute, and yeah, so we had dinner there that first night. It was really, really good. I had, like, a chicken with mashed potatoes and vegetables, and everything just tasted really good and fresh. You had a salmon, right, Mom? And that
Uh-huh.
was really
Yeah, with
good?
mashed potatoes and vegetables, and yeah, I mean, I thought I was at a fine dining hotel. I'd go back there,
Yeah, I would have
anytime.
been fine eating dinner again there one night because 'cause you're kinda tired after you've been walking all day and
Yeah.
seeing all the sights, so it's really, really nice and convenient. Another thing that the hotel has is well, it's kind of funny. We saw a picture and it looked like it was a pool, and it was, but I think it's part of the spa. So one day, Lindsay and I were like, "Let's go sit up by the pool and go read books." So we go find somebody. We're like, "How do we get to the pool?" They're like, "We don't have a pool." We're like, "Oh, okay, never mind." Thankfully, we weren't in our swimsuits because that would have been really embarrassing if we're, like, walking around looking for this pool that doesn't exist. But there is so I thought it was on the rooftop, but it's not. But there's a nice spa if you wanna go check that out, and I think they have a pool there because I saw a picture. But anyway, they have a very nice rooftop bar where they serve, like, light appetizers, I would say. We got chips and guac up there, and then they have, like, drinks and mocktails. We had some really nice mocktails up there. And beautiful, beautiful views of the bridge, the river. It was really, really nice up there. So if you stay there, go check it out. And yeah, we really liked it.
The other thing they had, which is unusual, is that they don't have a lounge. So they had a time period of 1 or 2 hours during the day that you could go to their restaurant and you could get free beverages and some snacks. We just never made it because we were out. Yeah, we were out exploring, but I thought that was kinda nice. They didn't have to do that. They could just say, "No, we don't have a lounge."
Yeah, I thought the service there was really nice. When we got
Mhm.
there, it was a really nice they gave us, like, a packet of all the things that were like, "As a globalist, here's what you can enjoy," and I think that's really nice because then you're not guessing, like, "Okay, what's covered for breakfast?" and, like, "Where's the lounge?" and this and that. It would have been nice if they said we had made to order eggs, but hey,
Mhm.
other than that, it was really, really great service. So, highly
Yeah.
recommend staying there. So, Mom, why don't you tell a little bit about the activities that we did in Lisbon?
So like I said, I'd been to Lisbon. I don't know if you've ever traveled somewhere and you really like the city, and then you bring other people there and you're like, "Ooh, I hope they like it as much as I did." You're kind of nervous. And, that's how I felt about Lisbon is I was like, well, I really like the charm of it. I like the neighborhoods. There's just a ton I like about it. And I thought, but once we got there, I go, sure, if they're going to like it. Well, spoiler alert, everybody loved Lisbon. They would go back. We started off our first day. We were really there just 2 full days. And so our first day, we started off with a cooking class. I love to take cooking classes when I travel, learn to cook some of the, you know, food from that area. And so we made pastel de natas, which is the typical custard pastry that you're gonna see all over Portugal. Honestly, I remember when I tasted it the first time, I'm not a real custard person. I thought, "I'm not gonna like this." Well, I love it. It is so good, and nothing beats it when you got it warm. And so if you can get it somewhere warm, so we thought, "Let's try making that." And so, this was through a company called Cooking Lisbon. There were only about 8 of us, I think, in the class. It cost us about $60 each, and we made pastel de natas. They were every bit as good as I, had ever tasted, and it was just a lot of fun. But I gotta ask you, Alex, did we get the recipe for it? I don't have the recipe
Yeah,
anywhere.
we did. We did.
Where is it?
So it's when you leave, he had a QR code that you would scan and it's a Google Drive. So I got it and everybody was like, just send it. So when
Okay.
you're ready to make them, I'll send it to you. I will say it is a process to make these,
It
but it
is
was
a
really
process.
fun and we bought them elsewhere and along our trip. And we thought ours were, and when I say ours, I mean like the chef did a lot. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't, we can't really take too much credit for this, but they were really, really good. And so when you have them, you want to put a little cinnamon and a little powdered sugar sprinkled on top, and they're delicious.
They are. They're so good. So we did that in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we wanted to get out and explore Lisbon. And so we walked from our cooking class down into central Lisbon, met our tour guide, Louise. We booked him through Viator. It's called Lisbon Unleashed Tour, 4 hours. Love the fact that we were on a tuk-tuk. There are a lot of hills in Lisbon. I mean, really, Lisbon reminds me so much of San Francisco. They've got the trolley cars. They've got the hills. They've got the, bridge from the same architect. It looks just like the Golden Gate. So a lot of it reminds me of San Francisco. And it was just so nice to not have to walk all around. So he took us all over to all the sites. He was really funny and personable, and it was a great experience.
Did you say it was what it was called? It's from I Took a Tuk Tuk. I wasn't sure if you said that or
Oh,
not.
I don't think I did. No,
Okay, so it
yeah.
was I Took a Tuk Tuk is the company, and then the tour that we did is called Lisbon Unleashed, and I've linked. It's linked in the show notes if anybody wants
Okay.
to check that out. And yeah, I highly agree that that is the way to see Lisbon in half of a day because otherwise you're going to be doing so much walking in up and down those hills. So I really enjoyed it. I loved Lisbon. It is so, so cute. Cute towns. I loved they have a lot of buildings that have really pretty tile work on the outside. And I just loved seeing all of the cute buildings, the cute town squares. 100% would go back to Lisbon. It's one of my favorite cities I've ever been, actually.
I love it. That makes me feel does my heart good to know that I didn't lead you astray.
You did not.
So our second day, we did another trip through Viator, and this was a day trip to Sintra and a couple other places along the coast of Portugal. So we did a private tour with a guy. Can't remember his name. And maybe it's because he wasn't quite as exciting as Louise had been. Louise was so entertaining. This guy had a flat affect. He was really nice and very knowledgeable, but he just didn't have that entertainment quality that Louise had. But he took us, first of all, to Cascais?
Cascais.
Cascais?
Yeah.
Anyway, such a cute town. We all were talking about how we wanted to live there for a month. In fact, a couple of my daughters, texted their husbands and said, "Do you think we could take kids out of school and we could all come here for a month?"
We were like
And
looking up Airbnbs, like, okay,
yes,
it's super close to Lisbon, but it's like right on like beach town, cute streets. Like it looks like a really cute place, but and close enough to Lisbon, but a place that you could feel like, okay, this seems like a family atmosphere too, like a great place to have kids. And we were seriously looking up Airbnbs for next summer. Like, let's just go and spend the last 2 weeks of May and the first 2 weeks of June. We'll rent an Airbnb here. We're like, even if our husbands can't take a month off work, because let's be realistic, they can't take a month off work. Maybe they could come for 2 weeks and then we'll just stay here with the kids. So we'll see if that transpires. But we literally got in the car after going to Cascais on the way to Sintra and we're like texting our husbands, okay, how would you feel about if we did this? It was hilarious.
yeah. So, if you go to Lisbon, make sure you go there.
Yeah. Like, I've never been somewhere and been like, I love going and seeing new places, obviously, but I also love where I live. And I've never been like, oh, I would want to live here for a month. This was the first time I've ever had that thought. So,
See, I had that thought in Cinque Terre when I visited Monte Rosa, where I could go somewhere. And again, it's a small town, and you just feel like, oh, it'd be so cool just to be part of this little village. So one of the things I love in Lisbon, and I did love here and I can't Cascais, I hate.
before you move there, you're going to need to learn how to pronounce
I
it.
am going to have to learn how to say it. So one of the things I love is the cobblestone streets, because it's not just cobblestone. It's, your light gray plus black. There's designs. You can almost get dizzy in some of the places just because the designs are so intricate. But that's one of the things that to me is besides the tile on the buildings, is very distinctive about Portugal. And I really love that. And so it was really nice. So from there, when he finally dragged us out of there, we went to the most western part of Europe and just stopped there. I don't even remember what the name of it was. And then on to Sintra, which has a palace and some really interesting buildings. On my last trip, I was more taken with Sintra than this trip, but we didn't have much free time there this time. Before we got to Sintra, though, we again had, we had really good food on this trip.
We had really good food.
Yes, because he stopped somewhere so that we ordered sea bass.
Yeah, like the guy came out with a big old fish and was like, "How does this one look?" And we said, "That looks great." So it was like all like food for a group. So a big thing of green beans and carrots and fries and potatoes. I'm gonna find the name of this restaurant. We'll put it in the show notes too, because I can't remember what it is, but it's right on the coast and it was really, really cute. And the views, like we just were sitting there and we're just looking out of the ocean while we're eating this amazing meal.
Yeah, and I must say, never would have thought that this trip was going to be such a foodie trip. But as you see, as we continue on to the Azores Islands, this was a foodie trip. We ate such good food. So yeah, it was just amazing. So after this, we headed to the Azores Islands, and Alex, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we flew Azores Airlines to Ponta Delgada, which is on the island of São Miguel. There's a few different islands. São Miguel is the biggest, so that is where we went. And once again, I booked this with my Venture X credit. It wasn't, I don't know, it was maybe $150, maybe less. It wasn't too bad. I I was kind of maybe naive in this. I thought, oh, this is going to be a nice short flight. Like we're just flying. We're still in Portugal. We're just flying out to the island. It'll be like, maybe 45 minutes or an hour. No, it's 2.5 hours away. So it was a little far. And then like we're in line to board. And my sister and my mom were both like, oh, have you guys heard about this runway? It's like a really hard runway to land on because it's so short. It's really freaky. And I'm like, great. I'm really glad we're having this conversation before we board the plane.
Well, and Alex then texted me and said,
If I don't survive, like tell my family I love them or something. And I was like, what? And she told me about the runway. And I was like, well, I guess the Azores is going on the same list as the Maldives for Jess, the one with flight anxiety. And I'm just going to have to live vicariously through your pictures because I don't do scary runways.
You know what, though? It was actually fine. Like, I thought it was gonna, like, once we were landing, I was like, oh, this doesn't feel any different than any other landing.
It wasn't scary at all. And I had a friend, locally here tell me the same thing. He says, oh, keep your eyes open when you land. And so I did. I go, this is nothing. We used to live on the coast in this small airport that was near the ocean. And so it was the same type of runway that we were used to. And I guess if you've never had a shorter runway near an ocean, maybe you could be scared. But no, you could do it, Jess. No problem.
Well, and then I was like anxious the entire 2.5 hours until Alex finally texted me and was like, we made it, I'm alive. And I was like, phew, I don't have to run this business by myself.
Yeah, I was like, Jess, if I don't make it, you inherit the business. It's all you. So once we safely landed, we got our rental car. We rented via Sixt, and we split the cost between the 5 of us. I don't remember how much that ended up being, but not much when you're splitting it between 5.
We probably paid $100 each. It was probably about $500.
And we spent 5 nights here on the island. And so, a decent length of a rental. So not bad. I will say 1000% you have to get a rental car if you're going here, because you will be doing a lot of driving and you will not see the island if you don't get a rental car. So you definitely want to get that. And then, so we stayed in an Airbnb here, and I'm going to link that in the show notes. It's called Carmo Country Villas. It was about 25 minutes, I want to say, from Ponta Delgada. It was really, really cute. It's like 3 standalone homes. The person who owns the homes has her own home there too, but 3 that they rent out. Ours was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath plus a loft. So it slept 6. So my mom had her own room. My 2 sisters shared a room, and then my other sister and I shared the loft. And so up in the loft, there was 2 single beds. So it was really nice. Definitely, it's older, but like everything in Europe is older. So, you're not going to have the fancy shower like you have in your hotel that you might be used to. But it was a really comfortable stay, really good location. I feel like it was pretty central to wherever we wanted to go on the island. You're going to be driving. But I don't know, I felt like it was a good location. It also had a pool and a hot tub, so that you shared between the 3 houses there. So that was really nice. I will say, I don't know if I would bring young kids here in staying at this Airbnb. I was looking at the information about it, and it mentioned like you can't have swim diapers. You can't go in the pool if your kid is in diapers, or no jumping in the pool or diving in the pool. And so I don't think I would bring I wouldn't bring young kids if I was planning to stay at this Airbnb, but it was really great for our needs. It was awesome. So, yeah.
So we did, like Alex said, a ton of driving on this trip. But I have got to say that everywhere we went, it was breathtaking. It's beautiful. Definitely can see why they call it the Hawaii of Europe. It is very lush and green. Rains at night, but we didn't really have rain during the day. It is, to me, kept saying that it was a mixture of Hawaii and Scotland because there's all these hills and it's just so green. It is, and the other thing is there are hydrangeas everywhere. Everywhere are hydrangeas. There were some places where you could see that the blooming wasn't in process. It had passed. But then there were other places where the hydrangeas were still blooming, and those places were just drop dead gorgeous. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous island. It was amazing.
And they had these really pretty yellow flowers as well. I don't know what those are called. I'm not the best when it comes to the names of plants. But there'd be hills just covered in these yellow flowers, and then grassy hills full of cows. And so it's interesting because it did have that less Hawaii feel, but then also villagey, Scotlandy. I've never been to Scotland, but I could see what you guys were saying when you could see the two. I didn't really feel like it was a Hawaii of Europe, but I also like have a like I just love Hawaii. And there's a to me, part of Hawaii is the culture that you feel in Hawaii, the Hawaiian culture. I love the Hawaiian music and just the vibe and the feel of Hawaii. And I didn't feel like the Azores had a cultural feel like Hawaii does. I could see it being Hawaii in Europe as far as the beauty though. Like,
Right.
but even still, it's a different type of beauty.
Well, I was going to save this question till the end, but it fits in with this discussion. When Pam said it was the Hawaii of Europe, I was going to say, okay, so if you could choose one, would you rather go to Hawaii of the United States or Hawaii of Europe? I'm guessing you're going to say Hawaii of US.
I think we both would. I mean, we were really happy to go there and we loved it. But one of the things, like Alex is saying, just kind of the island vibe. The vibe of the Azores is interesting because you don't get a lot. I don't know. You're not interacting with the local people as much like you do in Hawaii. And we actually didn't see women very much. We saw tourists that were women, but we'd go through the villages and it was so funny because it was like, where are the women? But the men, I don't know if they don't have backyards, but they were standing in their front doors or leaning out windows and just looking at everybody walking by. And the only thing we could figure out is, do the women get up and go to work?
Our last day, we did see a lot of women and it looked like they were getting on the bus. So we're like, the women must be going to work and that's why we're not seeing very many. So it was just different than like some other European cities we've been to maybe. There's lots of villages. That was a different thing too. I wasn't expecting it to be as big maybe as it was and even as developed. Like the road systems there were really nice and there's a lot of villages. But these villages are really small, I felt like. And I will say, as you're talking about going back, the hardest thing for us there was getting dinner reservations. You can't just show up to most places and eat. You have to make reservations and they don't have online reservation systems. So we're having to make phone calls or send emails to make reservations. And so that was a little tricky because it'd be like, I mean, I wasn't doing it. It was my Casey and Lindsay were doing all the dinner reservations, which was so nice of them because they were like, I'm so tired of like every day. It's like a stress of when are we going to eat and where are we going to eat? But the food we had was
good.
So
really
good.
good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So our first day we got up and we decided that we were going to go hiking. It is an island full of hikes. You can hike all over the place. We went to a very popular place. Excuse any pronunciations. We don't speak Portuguese. I'll probably try to say it like a Spaniard would, but we went to Lagos de Sete Cidades.
So it's the lakes of 7 cities is what that is.
And so there's a couple lakes there. It was formed by a volcano. Lots of, I think.
No, weren't you saying it was like how?
Like caldera, like Santorini. Yeah. And just tons of viewpoints. You could stop and you'd just be like, oh my goodness, that is the most beautiful thing I've seen. And then, stop at another viewpoint, oh my goodness, that is so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a must do if you're going to Sao Miguel. If you're going to be on that island, you have to go check out Lagos de Sete Cidades.
And we did a hike there that was, easy for, even kids. It was a reasonable, probably took us 45 minutes at the most, but, so that we could get to a really good viewpoint. And so really enjoyable. And that's pretty much what we did that first day. And then we came back and kind of hung out around our place. One of the things that is really popular in the Azores are all the thermal pools. And there's tons of them, natural and, all natural thermal pools. Ones, actually, some are even in the ocean. So we did go the second day to Poco Donna Beja. Is that how you pronounce it, Alex?
I would say Poca Donna Vieja.
Okay.
So
Any
there's a few different thermal pools where you go and you pay an entrance fee, and the one we really wanted to go to was actually closed the days that we were there. It was closed for, like, the rest of the month of September, or for, like, 2 or 3 weeks or something, had shut it down. So we did this other one. You do need reservations before you go to these thermal pools. They gave us an hour and a half to enjoy. That's how long our ticket entry accounted for, and it's really cheap. It's about €8 a person. So I definitely think checking out the thermal pools is a must as well. I think we would have enjoyed it a little bit more if we went later in the day when it had started to cool down, because they're thermal pools, so they're pretty warm. So if it's warm outside, you're like, we did it for maybe 45 minutes, and then we were like, we didn't need the whole hour and a half. But I definitely think that's a must do as well. And like my mom said, they do have them naturally in the ocean as well. So we went to one called Termas de Ferraria. This was the natural thermal pool in the ocean. This was completely free. The thing that we did not do very well is you don't want to go when it's low tide because the pool is going to be too hot and it could burn you. But you don't want to go when it's too high because then it's going to be too cool and you won't even notice. So when we went, it ended up being the tide was too high. So it just felt like the normal ocean. So we were like, well, that kind of was a bummer, but it still looked really, really neat to have this pool among all the black rocks and everything. So, like, check that out, but make sure you go during the right tide time, unlike us.
So one of the things that I was surprised about is when you're talking about the Azores Islands, the Hawaii of Europe, I just thought beaches are going to be everywhere. We brought our bathing suits. We're going to be out there sunbathing. We're going to, it's going to be like going to Hawaii, and we're in the ocean and doing all that stuff. And there are beaches, but there are also a lot of really high cliffs, and it was just different. I thought, and I also thought that, okay, it's the Azores Islands, so we're probably going to be going from island to island. They're going to be close to each other. So I was surprised about that. I actually didn't go to the beaches. I think I just didn't feel like it when the day that everybody went. And so, Alex, tell us about the beaches.
Yes. So this beach here we went to twice. It's called Praia dos Mosteiros. It was about 30 minutes from our Airbnb. Super, super cute. There was kids playing at the beach. They must have been like on a field trip from their school because they all had like their little backpacks. It was so cute watching them all play. They had ice cream carts, easy to find parking. So we went there, like I said, we went there twice because we enjoyed that beach so much. Another beach, I'm gonna butcher this name probably, but Praia Bahia, maybe it's Baixa. I forget. I asked my husband how to say these because he speaks Portuguese, but he was like, "Well, I would say it like his Portuguese is like Brazilian Portuguese." So, things are said a little different. He said, "I would say Baixa, but I don't know if that's how they would say it in Portugal." So, Praia Baixa de Areia. This one was like we just stumbled upon it. We were going to dinner and we were like, let's go find a beach. We're here early for our reservation. We drove down and we were all like, holy cow, this is stunning. So I have all of this stuff in Instagram stories and it'll be saved to highlights so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But this beach was so, so pretty. So we're here for a little bit and really great spot. So those are the only beaches we went to. There are more though, so you can check out more. One thing that we did, I know we mentioned we really enjoyed the food we had there. And Mom, do you want to tell them about this restaurant that we kept going back to?
Yeah. Down from us was a place called the Sensi Resort. It actually had accommodations. It was also a spa. And yes, Jess, we did get massages there. But they had a restaurant called Momo. And we went there the first night. That's when we found out, no, you're not going to be able to eat somewhere if you don't have reservations. But they did say that we could sit in the bar and eat. And that was really just like sitting in sofas. Turns out we did go back to eat in the restaurant. Turns out we liked the bar food more than the restaurant. But it was all good. And then we went and had lunch there one day. And actually, two of my daughters went back and had lunch another day there. So it was really good. So that was a popular spot with gorgeous views of the water. And yeah, we loved it. We also ate at a place called Tucatula one night and Casa de Abel. And so, like I said, food was a hit on this trip. I don't think there was anything that we thought that we didn't find some stuff that we really liked.
Yeah. So then our last activity, which Jess and my mom know was not a favorite of mine, was a whale watching tour. We saw dolphins. We didn't see any whales. I will say this was a case of it's not you, it's me. Like the whale watching guides were very great. They were so friendly, so knowledgeable. I was so stressed about getting seasick that I gave myself anxiety. So I had not a very good time. I didn't get seasick, but I had so much anxiety about getting seasick that I was stressing myself out. I will post pictures too. Like the boat itself, like stressed me out because it was a raft and you had these seats, like one in front of the other, rows of three, and you were straddling your seat. And there was literally nowhere to go. So I was just so stressed because I have gotten sick on, like, I haven't done a whale watching tour because I've been stressed about getting sick on a whale watching tour because I am very easily prone to motion sickness. And so I've done other tours. I always take Dramamine and it's like a bigger boat. So I'm like, okay, like the catamaran in Greece, for example, that's fine because it's a big catamaran. If I'm not feeling well, I just go find a little corner and I lay down and I'll be fine. There would have been no corners for me to go lay down here. And so when the boat was going, like we couldn't see the water until we left the harbor. I remember I saw the water and it was very choppy out there. And I turned to my sisters. I'm like, no, I'm jumping out and I'm swimming back to shore. I can't do this. I cannot do this. And so, yeah, I was fine once the boat was going and I was just talking myself down the whole time. Like, it's going to be fine. This is going to be over. I'm going to be back on land. This is all going to be a distant memory. It was a 3-hour tour. And yeah, I made it. I survived. But we had these like life jackets on and a crossbody and I had my crossbody bag and I'm like, oh, I feel like I was like suffocating with all of this stuff on me. I look around and everybody is like wearing coats because it was cool out there. And I'm like in a t-shirt and sweating. And I'm like, this isn't normal. Like, I am not doing well on this. So yeah, that was my first and last whale watching tour. And I was really happy to be on land again. I was fine when we were just driving on the boat. But once the boat would stop, I was so like, I'm going to start feeling sick now. I'm going to because I could feel it moving me around, And so, yeah, that was rough, you guys. I did not do well.
Yeah, we had another instance of Alex texting me, Jeff, this was so terrible. But so I'm like trying to talk her down. And I'm like, well, did you at least see like some beautiful whales? And she was like, no, I didn't see anything.
I'm like, we saw dolphins. I've seen dolphins before.
It was a bit of a disappointment. I'm like, I didn't even feel like they thought that we were going to see any whales.
No, we did a thing before, like an orientation in this room. And they're like, if we see something, then just be grateful we see anything kind of thing. They really...
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it sounds on the water. And so they're like, we're going to advertise whale watching tours.
Yeah. And maybe it's like the time of the year. Maybe you do see more. Because like it has really good reviews. But a lot of the reviews are like, wow, these people are so nice and friendly. Because they were. They're very knowledgeable. Like they tell you about the marine biology stuff. I mean, I wasn't hearing any of it because I was having an anxiety attack. But everyone else, I think, learned something out there.
They should just call it like the nice and friendly water tour.
But the water was not nice or friendly, but yes.
But despite that experience, all in all, our trip in the Azores was really good. We all had a great time. I mean, you know what? I get together with my 4 daughters. I mean, it's laughing, it's joking, it's laughing till we cry. It's talking about past memories. I mean, what's not to love? So, the ability to be able to spend that kind of time and nobody having to pay very much for it is just priceless.
So did you prefer, let me ask you one more question. Did you prefer like Lisbon over the Azores? Like, do you have a preference if you were going to go back to Portugal? Would you do the same itinerary? Would you not go back to either one and try something completely different?
Azores for me was I've done it once. It was beautiful. I don't feel like I need to go back. But I also need to preface this too by besides the whale watching experience, which wasn't great for me, I was sitting in the back seat of the car, that small rental car, you guys, the whole week. And so I was trapped in this very uncomfortable seat. And so I think then going on the whale watching tour, I was like, I'm trapped again. I'm trapped in this car. The other, like I was trapped in the car. The other thing was I got sick like the first day we got to the Azores. I got a very bad cold that then I gave to everybody. So luckily, most everybody got it by the time we got home, except my sister Kelly got it while we were there, but I don't feel like she got it as bad as I did. But I wasn't feeling well. And so I really feel like that really puts a damper on your whole experience. So I just feel like, I don't know, being sick really, really kind of, I wasn't able to experience Azores how I would have wanted to experience it. And so maybe if I hadn't have been sick, I would have been like, this was the most amazing place. I want to go back here so bad. But for me, I was like, okay, I did it. And it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been, but I don't need to go back again.
And I think that's kind of what traveling is all about. There are some places where it's a one and done. It's like, I've been there. I really enjoyed it. It was gorgeous. I'm so glad I went, but I don't have to go back. But then you've got Italy and Greece where I'm like, I can go back and I can go back and I can go back.
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
Lisbon, where I'm like, I could live here.
Right, right. And so I think that's, one of the things. And I think that's what's really nice in with this hobby too, is that, it's like, okay, maybe, I wish I would have gone somewhere else sometime, but it's like, hey, I use points of miles. This is just a bonus. This is awesome. And it was gorgeous. I would never hesitate in telling someone, encouraging them to do it. And especially if they like outdoor activities. We hiked and saw waterfalls. It is stunning. Absolutely stunning. So trying to get back from there, we were really surprised that we could get a United flight from Ponta Delgado all the way into Newark. And I think almost everybody paid and then on to Denver even, which is, now I did a stopover once I got to Newark, my oldest daughter and I, and we stayed a couple nights in New York City. But most everybody did one that went to Newark and then on to Denver. This particular flight did not have a business class, no business class on it. It was basically like they called it a premium economy, but it was basically a domestic first class seat. It was nice. It was comfortable. And, it was great. And I believe, Alex, didn't you guys pay about $50K for
Yeah.
that?
So what had happened is I'd booked just a straight economy ticket for 40,000 miles. And then I looked back later and saw I could get premium economy for just 50,000. And so the flight from Ponta Delgada to Newark was actually premium plus, which is just a step up from premium economy. But like my mom said, it was basically domestic first. Really like amazing service. One of the
Wow.
best service I've ever had on this level of seat. Like the flight attendant took so much pride in his job. I was like, you are really good at your job.
He seemed like a butler.
He
Do
did.
you think
Yes.
he looked and sounded like a butler? And I think he had that type of mentality of like, he was there to serve. It was like he was a Downton Abbey butler and he was there to serve us and do whatever he could for us. And he totally took such pride in what he did. Hands down, the best flight attendant.
Yeah. I was like, I need to send a note to United and just be like, hey, I was on this flight this day. I just got to let you know, this flight attendant was amazing. Please let him know. He was awesome. So then I canceled that flight and rebooked Premium Plus. So it was just 50,000 miles. So my flight went from Ponta Delgada to Newark in that first class seat, basically. And then the rest of my flight was all economy, but I did pay $100 to upgrade for the flight from Newark to Denver to premium economy. So that was only $100. And that's over about a 4-hour flight. So definitely worth it. And then flight from Denver to Salt Lake City was on like the smallest United plane that there is. So I was like, I'm fine sitting in economy in this seat. It's an hour flight. So I felt like that was a really, really good price. 50,000 miles and $100 to fly, first class basically on that flight to Newark, which is about a 6-hour flight, I want to say.
And a direct flight. It was amazing.
So I was really happy. So if anyone else is like looking to do Azores, I would definitely think United is a great option. It's actually the only, so you have United is the only like US based airline that flies direct to Azores. And then other than that, you have Azores Airlines. So those are your only two options. If you want to do Azores Airlines, you could look at booking them in one of the bank portals, but United worked really great for us.
Yeah. So all in all, we had an amazing trip, and we're already trying to figure out where we're going to go for our 2025 girls trip. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed hearing about both Lisbon and the Azores Islands. If you enjoyed it, we'd love it if you leave a review and share our podcast with your friends and family. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for listening to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Mom Squad. We can't wait to see where in the world Points and Miles take you.